name is Retaliation. I'm 32 years old. My husband is Retaliation, 38 years old, who runs an event company. I've been married for 6 years. People think I live a life without any hardships, but I feel a lot of constraints. And nobody knows the other side of my husband, who appears cheerful and positive. Harry loves gathering with a lot of people. This day was called Harry's father, John's birthday party, and the whole family gathered. While we were lining up at a fancy French restaurant waiting for our table, my husband proudly said, "We often come to places like this." "Always, Michaelin," started my wife, with a smug look. "Well, aren't you lucky?" I shot back. "Huh, must be the diner down the street you're talking about. You always go to star-rated places with your mistress, right?" "What?" The relatives erupted in anger, all at once. I called out Harry's mistress, Susan, and exposed everything in front of the whole family. "Did you think I didn't know anything?" Harry scratched his head, looking embarrassed. Susan suddenly spoke up, not even trying to hide her displeasure. "When did you find out?" I asked, because of Susan's suggestive posts. There was a photo of an arm wearing a watch Harry bought for several $1,000s. There were also photos taken from the passenger seat of Harry's car. It was too obvious, you know? Besides, I immediately knew about how you met Susan at her house with university friends. That time, Susan had just divorced, and we gathered to cheer her up. Even then, Harry, you shamelessly asked for her number. It's really creepy how you approach women like that. No, it's just manners for a man to approach a beautiful woman and say she's beautiful. It's not like I was taking advantage of Susan's heartbreak. Right, flirty Susan is just your type. Of course, you wouldn't miss the chance to talk to her. Harry's swift moves were unmatched by anyone. Amy was bored, you know? She seemed all sparkly and fun, but once we got married, she turned out to be boring and negative. I was deceived. It's like marital fraud, Harry often said. I met Harry through work. I was hosting events and weddings. Harry was the president of an event company, organizing many events themed around male and female interactions. I was called as a host, and that's how we met. Amy knew you were a playboy and still married you. You say I can't pick men, but are you all right in the head? But you said Harry was attentive, and there was something about him you couldn't ignore. You said every day. Every day felt like a proposal. And you, Amy, were completely fooled by Harry's tactics. Indeed, I married Harry knowing he was a womanizer. Yet, I never expected him to take Susan as a mistress. I was the one deceived. Harry's the type who doesn't feed a fish once he's caught it. As soon as we married, I was forced into a plain life. It wasn't the luxurious lifestyle everyone thinks. Harry's public face is fake. Since marrying Harry, I've been restricted in many ways. I even had to quit the hosting job I loved. Harry's father was a business owner, and Harry had lived a wealthy life. With his father's support, Harry ran his successful event company. So Harry spent lavishly on hobbies, women, and doing as he pleased. Yet he expected me, his wife, to be virtuous, unnoticeable, and support him from the shadows. I have no authority over money, and it's my job as a wife to make ends meet with just enough cash. Where did a dream of a lavish lifestyle go? Every day, I search for cheap supermarkets and live a life of saving and thrift. Look, I don't skimp on money when I think it's necessary. I like to spend generously on my employees' friends and young kids because I want them to enjoy themselves. And I don't question it. Being wealthy is a charm in itself. Your money is really your father's money if you trace it that. Even the penny you started was because of your father's support. Before marrying me, wasn't it your father who cleaned up after your womanizing? In the end, you're just a big baby still living off your father. What? The success of my event company is all thanks to my ideas and planning. Without that, it wouldn't have grown this big. Sure, I got support from my dad when starting, but everything after that is my own doing. You just don't want to admit it. You were famous for being a playboy since college. You did whatever you wanted in the event club, right? Those women are all you think about. How to charm them. Of course. It's a world where you have to charm the ladies. What's wrong with that? Then you should have just stayed single and continued playing around. Why marry me? If you can't be satisfied with one woman, you should have stayed single forever. All you wanted was someone to take care of you, right? You chose flashy beauties for affairs and mistresses, but wanted a wife who was quiet and supported her husband from behind. If that's the case, choosing me as a wife was a big mistake. You know it yourself. I regretted marrying you almost immediately. I chose you for your looks, but soon realized you weren't domestic. But I couldn't just divorce you right away because of the family. It's of the family, right? As long as we keep pretending to be a good couple, no one will suspect. You're willing to spend money on your mistress, but not on your wife. The clear distinction is almost refreshing. I married him willingly, so I can't complain now. But this marriage is far from what I imagined. I refused to continue this married life as Harry's slave. The moment I found out about Susan as his mistress, I couldn't see a future with Harry. I later learned that when we had the party to cheer up Susan at my house, she went to the bathroom. That's when Harry asked for her number. I can't believe he hit on her right outside the bathroom, even with me in the next room. Turning any place into a meeting spot, is that Harry's genius? And Susan didn't hesitate to give her number. She just divorced and probably didn't want to see my happiness. She gave her number not because it was any man, but because Harry was wealthy and my husband. Harry, who loves women, and Susan, who loves men, may mutually be a good match. Stop being jealous. It's pathetic, especially since it's Susan. What? Don't flatter yourself. Who's jealous? It's just immoral to go after your wife's friend. A secret romance is exciting. But the sense of betrayal to the wife, to the friend, it's irresistible. EWD 8 Statual. There's a perfect incident that describes my relationship with Susan. We were at the same university, majoring in the same field. We knew each other but weren't really close. One day, we talked about our future dreams, and it turned out we have the same dreams. This one was to become an announcer. Isn't that a dream job for many women? Both Susan and I entered the Miss Campus contest. We both made it to the final where I won the jury's special prize, and Susan won the contest. From that day, Susan began to look down on me. Since I was expected to win overwhelmingly, it only made her victory seem greater. I was bitter at the time. But even though Susan won Miss Campus, she failed to get into any major or local TV stations. Same for me too. Neither of us became the glamorous TV casters seemingly promised a future with celebrities. After my dream of becoming a caster faded, I shifted gears. After graduation, I joined an agency and started working as a host for events and weddings. It was close to my dream job, so I enjoyed it. On the other hand, Susan took a job as a receptionist at a general company. Far from having any affinity with being an announcer, a receptionist is often considered the face of the company. It is typically a role reserved for beautiful women. Susan must have wanted to use her beauty to her advantage. She was popular, of course, but the president's son was particularly insistent on courting her. It seems she decided to marry him out of pressure, but everyone thought it was for the money. She married the president's son after just 6 months, having a lavish wedding in Greece and the US, rumored to have cost about $2 million. I can't forget Susan's smug face. Her permanent employment was envy to the point of absurdity. She was the most beautiful and radiant at that time. Susan got pregnant soon after her wedding. She emphasized it was a honeymoon baby, but the timing suggested otherwise. Still, it must have been a chain of happiness for her. But just 2 years later, Susan divorced. It's ironic. Amy, Harry didn't cherish you at all. You were just treated like a housemaid. He bought me everything I wanted and even let me open a beauty salon. What's the difference, I wonder? You're just like a caged bird. How's your beauty salon doing? I heard you're overcharging for lousy services, leading to a storm of complaints. Without proper qualifications, just some basic training, who would go to your salon? Your staff keeps quitting, and you can't get new hires. It's probably running at a loss, right? That's what happens when you try to make easy money. Don't take your frustration out on me because you can't work. I realize my dream of owning my own store, unlike some mere housewives. Since it's not your money, it doesn't hurt you, right? Harry was wrong in where he invested his money. He should have put it into something with more future and profit. And don't underestimate the hard work of a housewife. I know that myself, being a divorced mom. But in your case, Amy, you don't have kids. I don't want to be lumped in with just a housewife. Don't talk about being a housewife without knowing the hardships of raising children. When children are mentioned, I have nothing to say. I wanted children too, but I reluctantly gave up because Harry didn't want them. The presence of a child would have brought some light into my monotonous days. I was completely left behind by the world, not even allowed that. The thing that infuriated me the most was Harry taking Susan as his mistress. It was all about a child. Susan has an 8-year-old daughter, and Harry dotes on her. Maybe it's because she's a girl. He especially buys her clothes like she's a dress-up doll. Despite his insistence on not wanting kids with me, he still dotes on his daughter. Mistress's child. What kind of nerve does he have? Maybe he spoils her because he has no responsibility, but to me it's just baffling. And it's not just that. I can't help but feel Susan is using her child cleverly. Since her divorce, she's been active as an influencer mainly on social media. She frequently posts about her child on her SNS, hiding her face to show off how hard she's parenting. But in reality, she's hardly with her child, leaving her with her parents. She's just posting stored photos. You aren't really parenting. You just see your child as a tool to shine yourself. Like, using your child to boost your likability is so transparent, it's off-putting. What? Someone who knows nothing about parenting shouldn't talk big. I'm a single parent, so it's natural to rely on my parents when I have work. My daughter's living because I work. Then work? That's what you call work? You barely show up at your beauty salon, even as the manager. You leave everything to the staff and just watch from afar. To blame them for every complaint and publicly scold them. Oh, no wonder your staff leaves. You're failing because you underestimate running a business. Susan really only thinks of herself flaunting her celebrity lifestyle on SNS. Oh, I remember now. You posted about this French restaurant too. All on Harry's dime, right? Exactly. So what? Harry spends on me because I'm more attractive than you. You've always been good at winning men over. Even in college, surrounded by admiring boys, strutting around like you're in a harem. You think nobody knew about the bribes you gave for the beauty contest votes. How you circulated your swimsuit photos asking for votes. And handing out date tickets to less popular boys in exchange for votes. I wanted to win by any means. Most guys fell for me. That's my charm and ability. The best reward for their votes was a date with me, right? That's why I won the highest honor. The means don't matter. It's all about the result. Compared to the jury's special prize, it's like you got nothing. It's just a pity prize. I wanted to be an announcer, no matter what. Even if it meant playing dirty, I was only focused on winning. My determination was worlds apart from yours, Amy. You and your half-hearted awards and attitude are the most embarrassing. And yet you ended up in a job unrelated to podcasting, didn't you? You just wanted a rich husband, right? The perfect guy showed up, your ex-husband. You bragged and boasted about him. Gifts of rings for no reason, cruise dates, foreign trips. He was indeed generous. But you just had to show off, didn't you? On social media, surrounded by branded items. You posted the same things over and over. The more praise you received, the more trapped you felt. Even though he was wealthy, you were desperate to fit in with the celebrities. Did you think it would last forever? In the end, you betrayed the man who gave you that lifestyle. You claimed the divorce was due to his domestic violence, but it was actually because of your affair. Weren't you frustrated by losing that lavish life because of your desires? Luckily, you weren't sued for fraud. But that's just who you are. There was real domestic violence, and you didn't care for our child. There were many issues, but isn't that a boomerang back at you? Didn't you want to be a famous broadcaster and marry a wealthy man? That's why you married someone like Harry, right? What do you think you've won this argument? So Susan, are you ready to live a completely different life if you marry Harry? No way. I have no intention of marrying Harry. Being his mistress is more beneficial, a win-win. I would never marry him. I don't want to be a slave like someone else. Harry, why are you silent? This whole mess is because of you. What? Are you as calm as a cucumber? That's just like you. Susan says this, but what about you, Harry? Are you going to leave it half done? Do you plan to divorce me and marry Susan? You took her as a mistress with full awareness, right? You need to give answers, not just to me, but to Susan as well. You're always silent when it's inconvenient, but that solves nothing. You're always running away. How many times did your dad bail you out? Did you know your fares and mistresses were attacking me? What's your responsibility to me? My prime years were stolen by marrying you. I'm at my limit with all the dissatisfaction and patience. If we divorce, fine. I have enough women to fool around with. I could just hire a real maid. There's no need for you. What? Do you even understand how I've lived? I've taken care of everything, from meals to creating a comfortable environment for you to perform at work. Your success isn't just your own effort. I've been your shadow support. Have I ever been selfish? Have I ever said no to you? Enough with the disrespect. Fine, let's divorce. But I will definitely get my share of the property and alimony. Whatever. I'm satisfied with the current situation. It's no loss to me. You're too flashy to be just a housewife. Beautiful, but you can't overshadow me. I'm the main actor here and you, Amy, are just a supporting character. Typical of a beauty contest participant. Both you and Susan are just full of yourselves, seeking approval. Huh, is that what you think? Oops, then let me tell you. You attract women because you have money, Harry. I wouldn't be your mistress if you weren't wealthy. Don't lose sight of your worth. You're already 38, Harry. Your value is only decreasing. What will these women you buy with money give you in return? Just a physical relationship, right? Isn't that just sugar dating? It's bold of you to say that after spending my money. Good timing, though. I'm done with women over 30. That's dreams, younger women are better. Susan was a catch. Couldn't tell she had a child, her figure was perfect. But she looks like an older woman if she's not careful. Were you thinking of breaking up with her? But Amy, you made it all complicated by calling Susan here. So I admit Susan was a great woman, but I accommodated her a lot. Money her child. But you're not functioning as a mother. I pretended to dote on the child, but I'm not fond of kids. I just bought her clothes and toys to keep her happy. Have you ever cooked for your child, Susan? Always eating out or getting delivery. How will you live without me? Running the beauty salon is impossible now. I can manage without you, Harry. Susan was bluffing, but she's already 32. Even though Harry was rude, he's right about her diminishing market value. Having a child can be a negative or a positive factor. But Susan, she wants attention on herself rather than her child, so she ends up depending on men who pay her that attention. It's a repeating cycle. Up until today's discussion, Harry and Susan were exchanging lovey-dovey emails. But now suddenly, they're hurling insults at each other. It's shocking to see love crumble so easily. Harry's father, who had been silent all this time, finally spoke up. Kelly, I've been quiet, but this is all your fault. You're not seeing yourself clearly. Your actions don't match your words. You've always been all talk, no action. I'm deeply disappointed and feel sorry. I know you've always been superficial, but I can't understand your inability to treat women kindly. It's often said that men are prone to infidelity, but not all men are like that, as I have proven. Indeed, my father-in-law and mother-in-law get along well, with him always expressing gratitude to her. Older men are often praised for their maturity and wisdom. My father-in-law is often praised for speaking ill of their wives, but he praises her every day. Touching them, I've always thought what a wonderful couple they are. Though I've always wondered how Harry, raised by such wonderful parents, could be so irresponsible with women. No, women don't flock to me without me doing anything. Quiet. I didn't raise a son like that. First, apologize to Amy? All I've heard are excuses, and you keep putting Amy and Susan down. To think this is your vocabulary and expression at 38, it's dizzying. I've been too lenient. Harry needs punishment. What? What are you going to do? If you're telling me not to divorce Amy, I won't. Dad, your foresight is always right. You gave your blessing for my marriage to Amy, saying she's the one. My business is successful because of your advice. I'll pay Susan off properly and break up with her. So Dad, please don't do anything drastic. Even Harry fears and can't disobey his father. My father-in-law is usually gentle, but when he gets angry, it's frightening. I've heard he can be cold too. Now what punishment will my father-in-law give to Harry? Harry, you said your company is in trouble. Yeah. Why didn't you say we say it was in danger earlier? Were you waiting for someone to fix it? He paired instantly. Being his wife, I didn't know about the state of his business. But thinking back, he was often on his phone at home. I thought he was talking to Susan or someone nightstand. But sometimes his tone was different. There were times he sounded desperate, troubled, even yelling. Maybe he was on the edge. From now on, there will be no more financial support for you. A penny from the company or home. You'll have to live on your own. Owen will help you. Wait a minute. The company is in real trouble. Without financial aid, it's doomed. It's already failing. Why didn't you change your lifestyle knowing it was in danger? You didn't reduce your living standard even when you had no money, even borrowing. Debt collectors came to our house. What were you planning? Keeping up appearances? And there's something else you haven't reported, right? Unreported? Oh, the employees. The employees collectively resigned, right? 3 months' salary unpaid. They're suing you. What? Sued? What do I do, Dad? Help me, please. I feel the same, and I think Susan does too. Harry, you're just embarrassing. Harry suddenly seemed to have deteriorated before my eyes. I wondered what I ever saw in him. I never saw in him what made me want to marry him. Upon closer inspection, Harry, now almost in his 40s, is losing the firmness in his skin. His hair, too, is noticeably thinning. In his youth, he was revered as the king of the lively event circles. He carried that same aura into starting his event company, which initially succeeded impressively. He must have mistaken it for his own kingdom. He was fairly handsome, with high communication skills and also had money, making him bound to be popular. Then we're always drawn to him, and he took it for granted. However, now his company's collapsed, leaving him penniless and unable to return to his youthful looks. Harry's hellish punishment is becoming someone that no one cares about. The Michelin-starred French restaurant where we gathered for my father-in-law's birthday celebration, 1 month since the tumultuous scene unfolded there. Harry's company spectacularly failed, and so did our marriage. Susan also ended her affair with Harry. He is now being sued for unpaid wages by his former employees. On top of that, there's my alimony and the unpaid rent for the beauty salon Susan managed. He needed a huge amount of money. Harry, a pampered man who never struggled, is now mistreated in any company he joins. On the other hand, Susan, the mistress who also put on a facade of being a victim, lost custody of her child to her ex-husband due to neglecting her parental duties. It's only natural. After the divorce, I felt refreshed and resumed my beloved career as an event host. I kept practicing to be ready for a comeback, doing vocal exercises and tongue twisters. Thanks to that, I started receiving numerous bookings. Finally, it seems I can lead a life that's true to myself,